Hello all, it's James Johnson, aka Sulfur Blade, and I'm here for a video to share about a fairly important topic. Many of you probably don't know, but the congenital liar Adam Schiff, chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Democrat. You know the crazy guy I'm talking about, the one who pushed the Russian conspiracy bullshit on about Trump over and over and over again with the crazy beady eyes. Yeah, he's proposed a new set of laws that let's just say it's all about spying on Americans and arresting Americans who have different political motivations. Pointing this out, this terrible set of laws, is Miss Tulsi Gabbard. Some of you may or may not know who this lady is, but she is actually one of the very few Democrats in the country that still has a functioning brain. She ran for president this go-around, but she was too smart for the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party did everything they could to push her out of the picture. At one point, news media was saying that there were only two people left in the race, and that was Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden, and that Elizabeth Warren was the last female in the race, according to mainstream media, and that when she dropped out, it was just Biden and Sanders, which wasn't true. Tulsi Gabbard was still in the race, but for whatever reason, mainstream media is as triggered by Tulsi Gabbard as mainstream media is triggered by Donald Trump. Tulsi Gabbard is somehow persona non grata by all Democrats, even though she is a Democrat. So, with that being said, if she's a Democrat that other Democrats hate, you can expect it's probably because she actually has brain cells, and she does. So let's hear what Tulsi Gabbard has to say about Adam Schiff's new proposed laws. And could they,
Congresswoman, great to see you.
Could they
I know you've just been out of the job for a week or two. Are you surprised they're pushing forward with this extra surveillance on would-be domestic terror?
It's so dangerous. You know, as you guys have been talking about, this is an issue that all Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Libertarians should be extremely concerned about, especially because we don't have to guess about where this goes or how this ends. When you have people like former CIA Director John Brennan openly talking about how he's spoken with or heard from appointees and nominees in the Biden administration who are already starting to look across our country for these types of movements similar to the insurgencies they've seen overseas, that in his words, he says, make up this unholy alliance of religious extremists, racists, bigots. He lists a few others and adds at the end, even libertarians.
All right, she says he, and she points out that the name of the person that she's talking about right now is former CIA Director John Brennan. That name should mean something to everyone out there. If you go back in time, back to the era of WikiLeaks, when it was revealed to us, thanks to Edward Snowden, that the American intelligence agencies were spying on actual Americans in violation of our constitutional rights. You know, Edward Snowden was a huge whistleblower that revealed this information. And this was shortly after Brennan had lied before Congress about whether or not they were spying on people, as he was asked straight up by the Oregon senator if they were in fact spying on the American people. And this Oregon senator actually knew that they were spying on the American people because he was privy to that knowledge, because he was part of the intelligence community, part of the Gang of Eight that was actually privy to the knowledge that Americans were indeed being spied on by the American people. And it seemed he purposely put Brennan on the spot in hopes that Brennan would have more balls than he did. By putting him under oath and then asking him if they were spying. But he held up with the lie that the Oregon senator knew was a lie. And Edward Snowden, he had had enough of us, the Americans, being fed a bunch of bullshit by our government, lying to us about spying on us. So Snowden came forward, blew the whistle, and now he's in Russia, living in exile. But we at least became aware of the illegal surveillance that was happening to us. Well, now the same person who was responsible for that illegal surveillance is talking about teaming up with Adam Schiff to spy on us once more. So let's go ahead and finish hearing what Tulsi has to say.
So when you look at their process and they start looking at, okay, what characteristics are we looking for as we're building this profile of a potential extremist? What are we talking about? Religious extremists? Are we talking about Christians, evangelical Christians? What is a religious extremist? Is it somebody who's pro-life? I mean, where do you take this? You start looking at, okay, well, obviously you have to be a white person, obviously likely male, libertarians. Well, if anybody who loves freedom, liberty, maybe has an American flag outside their house, or people who, attended a Trump rally. Once you start walking this down the path, you see where it leads to a very dangerous undermining of our civil liberties, our freedoms in our Constitution, and a targeting of almost half of the country.
UN Omar says this: we already have laws on the books, sorry, but you are just going to have to learn to apply them. The other thing I thought was...
Actually, I want to point this out. Ilhan Omar is not somebody I rarely, if ever, say anything good about. She's part of the squad. She's part of the crazy communist leftists. But in this situation, Ilhan Omar, maybe this is the only time she's ever said anything as a politician that actually made sense or was actually to the benefit of the American people. But she is calling out you can read what it says. We already have laws in the books, sorry, but you're just going to have to learn to apply them equally. I have to stand up and give Ilhan Omar a round of applause. Ilhan, you're normally a fucking lunatic, but on this issue, we stand together, and that's pretty amazing. I never thought that I'd ever stand with Ilhan Omar on anything, but it seems she has some brain cells in that head. Anyway, let's continue on.
It's interesting, Congresswoman. I don't see any FBI demanding more tools. They feel they got the tools. These are congressional leaders or members who feel as though they're so freaked out by Trump supporters they still can't understand why anyone would support him. They want to get to the bottom of it. And do you think the whole deprogramming of Trump supporters, this new buzzword among detractors and Democrats, has anything to do with this?
Yeah, I think it does very directly. I think just on the FBI front, I read a great op-ed this morning from a former FBI agent who made a very strong case for why this new domestic terror law introduced by Adam Schiff is wrong and is directly going to undermine our constitutional rights and freedoms. This whole effort, whether you're talking about this bill or people saying that we have to deprogram these Trump cultists and people who voted for Trump because they've been radicalized, all of this just goes to further tear our country apart. And it moves towards the thing Joe Biden said in his inauguration speech that he shouldn't happen, which is a dehumanization of your opponent. And that's where his voice is so necessary right now. He is the president of this country. He delivered this speech, his voice, himself, speaking to the American people. He needs to denounce people like John Brennan and their statements, bills like the one Adam Schiff put forward, and truly speak to the American people about how we must come together around, you know, the Constitution, around our Bill of Rights, around these rights that have been endowed to us by our Creator.
If he had your leadership ability, he would do it. Maybe he still will. That's why she ran for president. Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, thanks so much.
So Brian Kilmeade kind of summarized that pretty well. Tulsi says that naturally because I think she believes what she says. Unlike Biden, who's up there touting unity when he's like a three-headed snake. He shows one thing at one picture at one time, and while he's showing you that picture, he's, you know, doing the whole magician thing where he's got his other two hands hiding the card or moving the dice or whatever the trick is. So make no mistake, Joe Biden is a liar. He has no intention for unity. In fact, we can clearly see already through this short period of time, all of his executive orders, none of that shows that he's about unity. All of that shows that he's part of the globalist cabal trying to create the great global reset. And I wish I was just a crazy conspiracy theorist when I'm saying that bullshit, but it's an actual reality of the world we're in. I can't believe we are actually in this point. It's sad that Tulsi did the right thing when she ran for president, that she gave up her congressional seat, because we could really use her in Congress right now. But unlike most politicians, she left her seat in order to run for president. Did Kamala Harris do that? No. Did most of the politicians do that? No. Bernie is still in office, right? So's Elizabeth Warren, etc., etc. So this just goes to show the type of integrity that Tulsi Gabbard has. And sadly, I remember a Democratic Party that used to be made up of individuals like Tulsi Gabbard. If you go back to the 80s and maybe even early 90s, it wasn't uncommon that our politicians were much like Tulsi. They had common sense. They could find common ground. They would act for the good of the American people. But at some point, a group of politicians came into power that were about enriching themselves instead of doing what was best for the American people. Yeah, we're talking about the political families, you know, the Clintons, the Bushes, the Cheneys, the swamp creatures, Kennedys, for instance. It's not to take away anything from some of the great Kennedy politicians we've had, like JFK. But there has been a whole hell of a lot of Kennedys. That's a family that has put a lot of politicians in place, and while some of them may have actually wanted what was best for the U.S. at one point, now in the year 2021, you can bet that if you're a political party, you don't give a shit about what's best for America. You give a shit about what's best to make money for your family, for you, etc. Because politicians, they're the easiest way they make money off of their political stature, their seat, isn't by making it for themselves. It's for enriching close family members, like Biden has done with his son and his brother. But I digress. So yeah, the congenital liar is out to push a new set of laws that will spy on you and attempt to arrest you in the name of domestic terrorism. So be aware of that. I don't think it's going to go anywhere because thankfully the majority in both Congress and, well, not Congress, the majority in the House and the majority in the Senate, the majority in the Senate is one vote, and that's Kamala Harris, the vice president. The Senate is literally tied 50-50. And the House is like 9 or 10 seats in favor of the Democrats, but in, there's over, 500 congressmen. That a 10-seat difference isn't a big enough difference that Democrats can push through the craziness. Though they're going to try. They are going to try at every turn to push through the craziness. What is worse, how do I put this? The worst power that we have right now is Joe Biden. Because Joe Biden, with the slim majority in the House and the technical majority in Senate, he's going to have carte blanche to push some pretty radical executive orders. So executive orders used to be a thing that were very rare. It was very, very rare for a president to create an executive order. In fact, it was almost unheard of. You go back to Reagan and Carter and presidents of that era, the idea of an executive order was just, wasn't something that they did. At some point, I want to say Clinton. I think Clinton kind of went a little bit crazy with executive orders, and that kind of set a trend where every president thereafter really started waving that executive order wand around. And Biden is already up to like 25 of them, and he's only been in office 5 days, and most of them completely destroy Trump's legacy. So I think that is going to be the biggest way that the Democrats are really going to push their narrative down our throats. One of those executive orders is just heinously terrible. The one where it tells the census that they can count illegals for the purposes of representation in Congress. That's just frightening. That's just disturbing. And what we need with that executive order is some massive outcry and somebody taking this to the Supreme Court and saying, hey, challenging the legality of such a crazy executive order. So Trump had many of his executive orders challenged in the court. And I'm sure that's going to happen with Biden. We just need a little bit of time to organize some of the challenges. But I hope they they get organized quickly, because that one in particular really scares me. Anyway, I'm James Johnson. This has been another video. I probably rambled a little bit and got off topic here and there, but I thought it was an important enough topic that should be brought to your attention. While I don't think it'll actually get through and become law, the fact that they're trying to push it as law is, scary in and of itself. So if you're enjoying my content, please smash that like button, and until next time, all, peace.